Okay, and we're live. Barely today. Okay, yeah, it's going to be a little strange today because Nita is not in. She actually, first she thought she was going camping, and then she woke up with tooth infection. So she's at the dentist, or at least she's on her way to the dentist. So it looks like it's just you guys and me today, along with a special guest. So, and of course, because I am by myself, of course, I am forgetting everything that I needed to prepare for before the show started. Hold on, let me just do this. Okay. All right. I think I got it. All right, everybody. Well, good morning, everybody. This is another episode of the Ragin to the Vlogs show. Today is Friday, August 18th, 2023. Absolutely disgusting. I refuse to accept that we're literally like, I don't know, like 2 weeks away from September. And no, I do not like it at all. So, you know what? We might as well just get this started. So it's going to be a hot mess of a show anyway. So let's get it started. We'll be right back. Yes. So today is a rare one. So it's just me today, but even though it's like, well, it's me and JD is in the background waiting to come on. If you missed, I think it was last Monday's show where we tried to launch the Oswald Chronicles, too much fiasco, but today, second time's a charm. So we're doing it again today. But before we get started, hello everyone. My name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. I've been self-publishing comics since 1992, and you know what that means.
Emotional damage.
Especially for today. And I am known for the furry fantasy adventure Tall Tales, returning to Kickstarter in 2024 with the all new story arc, Tears of the Mother. But in the meantime, you can check out Tall Tales for free at our website, talltalesonline.com. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I am also known for my mature audience's medieval fantasy drama, EGORAVEN, Heir of the First Unicorn, currently on Kickstarter right now, and its last 2 weeks. All the links are in the show notes below. You can read both my comics online at Tall Tales. That's TAILS online.com. Would help if I spelled it correctly. And egoworks.com, EGOWORKS. And remember, you can check out all my videos on how I make my comics here on YouTube at Daphne Lage, LAGER, which also simulcasts through the Indie Comics Network. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified whenever any of our shows go live on either of those channels. And remember, usually I pass the rest of this off to Nita, but like I said, she's at the dentist with it's hopefully let's all wish her well for a quick recovery. At least this is happening now instead of while she's on vacation. So so if anything with indiecomicsnetwork.com, you guys know how it works.
It.com.
Got. There you go. So let me see who's joining us in the chat today. Who is joining us? Oh, here we are with Joe. Joe D, hello. Yes. It's like, what is it? It's like to be a dentist. Yeah, exactly. Right. Hello, Grant. Hello, Grant. Welcome. And John Celestri. Yes, no, definitely. I mean, it's like she showed me a picture of her face swollen. And it's like, look, I told her I could feel it through the picture. Really. It's like, yeah, so let's hope that by the end of the day, Nita is at least on the road to recovery. Hello, Rob. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, it's just going to be us today. Just going to be us today. So, yes. And yes, I see you, my precious, absolutely precious eyeball people watching me from regions beyond. If you are joining us from Facebook, if you are joining us from Twitter, come on over to YouTube. Join the sexy people in the chat. And if you're joining us from Facebook, Facebook has a tendency to act up, and Twitter doesn't even allow us to see your comments. And honestly, I don't know what to do with you people on LinkedIn. Just come on over anyway. Come on over anyway, and we'll have a good time. So, okay, so let's see if I can get through. The rest of the housekeeping today. Look, it's like, look, I don't have the show schedule memorized. You know what, it's like, look, just go to our channel at indiecomicsnetwork.com, look at all the different shows that are available, and figure out the schedule. I know that there's a schedule in the show notes. The schedule's in the show notes. So if you're looking for any particular shows or whatnot, or any particular draw streams, or even to support any of the campaigns that we mentioned on the show, everything is in the show notes, because it's going to be messy today. So the one of the things that I want to at least start off with is thank you so much to everybody who has supported EGORAVEN, Heir of the First Unicorn, issue 7 on Kickstarter, live right now. Thank you so much to the 116 backers that have supported, raising $2,763. We are so close. God damn it. We are so close to reaching 3K. We have exactly 2 weeks to go. Thank you so much to everybody who supported so far. At 3K, a stretch goal gets unlocked. We have an art postcard that gets unlocked at 3,000. So if you help us reach 3,000 by making a physical or digital pledge, you will both get this art print added to your order. So, of course, physical orders will get the physical postcard, and digital orders will get a digital version of the postcard, so of this art print. So thank you so much. And it's like, yeah, and for those of you who are actually waiting for the next campaign after this, I know it might be a little too early, but I'm just going to mention it at least once. So Medieval Unicorn Viking Slut is now on pre-launch. Finally got that thing approved. It goes live. The Conan parody nobody asked for, but you're getting anyway. Yeah, well, not exactly nobody. I want this. It's a 3 comic shorts set. It's all standalone EGORAVEN stories, 2 of them very not canon, and one of them which collects all the short stories from the previous campaigns that were stretch goals, are now in one comic book that we can all enjoy together. But yes, Medieval Unicorn Viking Slut, the joke that went too real too fast, is now on pre-launch. It launches September 25th. So if you are looking forward to this campaign and all the different variant covers I drew for this campaign, save the date on September 25th. Link is in the show notes below. And it's sister campaign, Sky of Thorns. We are doing a collaboration with Krista Crawford Sky of Thorns, Unicorn Girls Unite. We are doing a joint campaign with Sky of Thorns and Medieval Unicorn Viking Slot. What a combo! Where if you support both our campaigns, you not only will you get, there is a bonus print on her campaign that I did as a stretch goal, but if you support both our campaigns, there's an extra bonus print that you will get by for pledging to both our campaigns. So again, the link is in the show notes below. This also launches on September 25th. It is a 3-volume romance, fantasy romance series. And so it's like, so it's like, you get the sexy comics with the sexy novels. You gotta, you got your day full, you got your hands full with this. The next campaign that I want to talk about, since we're going to have JD joining us in a couple of minutes, Magi's Grace, Sex and Monsters, also on pre-launch. This is the first project, collaboration project between JD Calderon and C. Michael Lanning, our very own C. Michael Lanning, who is also at the dentist today. What a fun time to be had by all. So this is the first of a 4-issue comic miniseries about a team of monster hunters for hire investigating some strange going-ons at a seaside town, because that's where all the strange things happen, is at seaside towns. So this is also in pre-launch as well. And last but not least, the reason why, I have company today. I was there, and I remember this is the issues 1 through 4 of the Oswald Chronicles, which is now live on Kickstarter. We actually made sure that it worked before we went live on the show, so that we didn't have any glitches or mishaps like the last time. Thank you so much to the 5 people who have pledged so far. So if you were waiting for the last campaign, which was for the first 2 issues of The Light That Attracts, that is also on this campaign. So so I guess to talk more about it while we're here. Hey, Aza, are you there? He's probably in the bathroom. Who knows? He probably wasn't.
Hello, Daphne. How you doing?
There you go.
Sorry about that. I actually wasn't in the bathroom. I was talking like an idiot, and the damn mute button was on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So there you go. Yeah, that happens. That happens. So at least this time around, we were actually able to launch the Oswald Chronicles successfully. So do you want to give us like a quick rundown as to what's going on with this campaign, considering what happened on the last time?
Okay. Well, the last time, things occurred, things that shouldn't have occurred.
Right.
But they occurred anyway. Mistakes happen. Just goes to show you that no matter what you do in life, cross your T's, dot your I's, check it, double check it, and then triple check it. And even when you do that, check it again. But regardless, it taught me a lesson on this one, fixed it up. And what I did was I already had this campaign in the works when I launched the other one. I canceled it. So I said, you know what? Let me just combine the 2. I'll launch this one. And that's what I did. So we got an early bird special. First 45 physical backers are going to get a coaster and a little like metallic foil,
a little glitter sticker.
Yeah, a little glitter sticker thing. Yeah, actually, it looks really cool. I like it. So.
Oh, by the way, let's thank Grant, who's following Magi's Grace on Kickstarter right now. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Grant.
Oh, and Rob's like, are you running 2 accounts, or did they let you pre-launch while running a live KS? No, I had to. It's the same account. I had to. They rejected the second campaign the first time, which I was expecting them to do. And what I did was I told them that I was planning to launch on the 25th, but I needed the pre-launch page to do pre-advertising, pre-promotion, and they allowed me to have the live campaign. Well, it's not live, it's on pre-launch, but they approved it so that I could do the pre-launch. So that's what I had to go through. So yeah, so if they reject you the first time saying you have to finish the first campaign, just give them your date, your date for when you're actually going to launch the next campaign, and they'll probably let you get away with a pre-launch page, 2 pre-launch pages up or whatnot. So let's continue because since we have to explain so much with now that this is 2 campaigns in one technically.
Yeah, there's a lot of books in there.
Yeah. So okay. So this campaign is for the 4-issue miniseries of.
I was there. No, this is see, I do too many books.
Yeah.
Right?
So hold on, let me go back to the title. So I was there.
I was there and I remember. That's this one. So this is the first 4 issues. There are 2 more issues in the series.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. This is the first 4 issues. Because of course, I can't shut up, so I keep talking, and so thusly then I keep writing.
Right.
So yeah, but this is the first 4 issues, and this is a story where Oswald goes into dream, and he discovers a good portion of his destiny, what he's destined to do with the rest of his time he has, and it's a section of his life where he becomes an emperor, a father, a battle mage, all kinds of great stuff. And then if you scroll back in the opposite direction.
Oh, that would be up, I guess.
All right. Yeah, up. Yeah. All right. Go in the other direction. No. Down.
Keep going up. Keep going up.
Go down.
Oh, go down.
Down.
Okay.
Stop.
There.
All right. There you go. Now this is the image from the previous campaign. This is the cover to The Light That Attracts. It's a completely different story. If you have backed On the Wings of Deidre, in that story, he at the very end of that story, he's like, okay, Deidre, her situation is taken care of, done, and now he's like, hey, I gotta go do something. My friend Diane is missing, and this is a story where he goes to find his friend Diane, where she's gone up north to help out with the situation, and ancient powers has arisen from the permafrost that's melting in Canada, and Oswald goes up there and he sticks his nose in, where it's not needed or wanted, and well, it actually is needed but not wanted, and he goes up there and to find his friend. He's trying to find out what's going on, and he discovers a few things about himself. He comes into contact with the great Baba Yaga for the first time. And and he has this crazy adventure, and this is the first 2 issues of that. All those issues are in there, so you can get them in, as a combined thing. So at least you save some money on shipping.
Well, that's true, right? Because instead of buying the book separately because of 2 campaigns, now everything's on this one.
Exactly.
Right. So, okay. So this is going to be a pretty short campaign.
It's 21 days.
Right, and it's pretty basic as well, I think, right, in terms of.
Oh, yeah. I kept it simple, as far as what I'm trying to, what I'm offering is just the books, and the more books, PDFs, obviously, and then on the add-ons it has probably more. It has even more stuff. So it has some of the prior issues you can pick up. Keychains, pins, T-shirts, all that good stuff. So if you want to pick up all that stuff, that's all in the add-ons.
Right. Oh, so there we go. So like I said, thank you so much to the 5 backers who have backed the campaign so far. We have 20 days to go. So yeah, it's still, even though you technically lost the previous campaign because you had to cancel it because of glitches, you're still keeping the campaign short.
Yes.
You're not trying to make up for the time that you would have had with the other campaign. It's okay, you have 20 days to get these books. So it's okay. What?
Well, one of the things I've been doing is I've been offering prior campaigns on the current campaign. So on this campaign, I believe I have a level, and this was something I was going to do in the prior one. It's called the see, where is it?
Well, you've always had the ultimate book level that has everything as a PDF. Well,
Right.
actually, all physical books too. Jesus, that's a lot of books. Just
Yeah.
looking at that graphic.
Yeah, that's a lot of books.
Uh,
I'm starting to implement what's called the then and now level, right? So the then and now level is the books you can get that are available now, and the books that
oh,
were available then, and that has basically both campaigns on it. So it has the current two books, and from the prior campaign. It was
okay,
yeah,
right. So this is what like okay. So this way, it's like if you missed the last campaign that didn't happen, it's here. This is the
it's
level to
it's
kind of
there
get right.
exactly. It's also available as an add-on if you just get the regular level.
Right.
But yeah, it's all there. So you know,
Right.
and the thing is, it's something that I'm going to be implementing from now on, so that even if you miss this campaign, right, you'll be able to get it on the next campaign.
Mm. Well, but that's always, that always a good idea to do. It's like because there's no reason to kind of like create a false scarcity with previous campaigns. If the
Right.
whole idea is to get people to read the series.
Mhm.
Yeah. So let me see. So let me just. Okay, so we're just going to put that to bed a bit. Like I said, thank you everybody who supported the campaign so far. It's like, oh, Grant says, see, Michael Lanning was on my show on Monday, and he recommended I follows the Magi's Grace Kickstarter. Oh, good, very good, very good.
Very nice.
Because that's an upcoming project for you. That one, I think, what you're looking to launch that one.
Monday the 28th.
The Monday, yeah. So it's like it's one can. So, do you think that it's going to be a little odd running like two very distinct campaigns, kind of at the same time? Even though it's like they're very, like different projects for you, or
You know, my wires it gets crossed on this one because my other campaign would have been done
right,
by that point. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
right,
So we'll see what happens. But there
right,
are two separate audiences. There are different audiences.
true,
You know, it depends. You know what you're interested in. You know, one
right,
is a little bit more. You know, monster hunting bad girl type of deal,
right,
right? With Magi's Grace, and then with Oswald, you have more of a high fantasy,
mhm,
action adventure
right,
type of story. So you know, it just depends what you're looking for. So
right. Yeah. So okay,
and
so
and,
and
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 if
there's
you
more.
like both, you can get both.
Oh, so you'll have so you can
No, no,
actually.
no, no, no. There's not a crossover thing, but you can actually go physically buy both. That's right.
Oh, okay. So like Oswald's going to be available as add-ons on this campaign? I
No,
thought
that's not. I just said that's not what I'm doing.
right.
What I'm just saying is you can get both. You just get them if you
Oh,
want to
I
get them.
see. You could just support both the campaigns.
Yes,
So
you
there's
can get them.
always going to be an Oswald campaign going live no matter what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That makes more sense. So now that you're combining, even though you've combined these two campaigns, not Magi's Grace, but the two Oswald Chronicles campaigns, but at the same time, you're getting kind of simpler with your campaigns as opposed to kind of making them more complicated, as with a lot more items and levels. So what you say? I guess it's safe to say that we've done around like 30 something campaigns, like more than that, right?
I let's see. Okay. Of course, it doesn't have it on this page. But yeah, I think I'm up to 31, 32, somewhere in that area.
Right, yeah. And so so it's like, do you see, so I know that we've talked about how that there are people who are like going, oh, it's getting harder and harder to fund, uh to kind of like succeed on Kickstarter, whatever that means. But at the same time, it's like there is no consensus as to what's causing that. So you have a show on Sunday, uh, conveniently enough, titled "Talking Comics on Sunday,"
Right.
and it's a panel show that you run with all different types of people. I guess like every level of success on crowdfunding, and I guess or in just comics in general. And you guys like sit around talking about like the business of comics. So yeah, so there doesn't seem to be a consensus as to what's going on Kickstarter, or do you think that there is, but people are kind of like not wanting to think about it?
I mean, it's like an onion, right? It's very layered, and we're gonna end up crying. We're gonna end up crying over it, right? So, um, it's it's a matter of some people say it's oversaturation. Um, Maybe I would say that's a portion of it. You understand? You could say quality of work. That's another portion of it. Frequency of releases. That's another portion of it. Sometimes it's just the subject matter you're choosing. I've gone through this whole thing where I like looking with the Oswald Chronicles and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Because it's a YA book, more or less, right? It's a bit, it's definitely for adults, but it's also for younger readers. But probably within, like I always say, if they can watch Lord of the Rings, it's good for them. Then that's fine. It's not really meant for really young readers.
Right.
But we have seen and spoken to people who produce this type of book. There is more or less a cap on how many. It's very difficult to get above a certain level. That's not to say you can't get above a certain level, and we're probably talking, in excess of like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, or 8,000. Getting over those numbers is a little difficult with that type of book. That's not to say it can't be done, and that's not to say it hasn't been done. You understand that you're gonna have outliers. You're gonna have people who've been producing webcomics for like the last 10, 15 years, and they've built up this audience and so on and so forth, or they've managed to build up audiences in other areas. So it can be a little bit more challenging, but that's what challenges were invented for. You take them on, and you bull rush forward.
Right.
But all of that stuff feeds into why things, and then there's always the economy, what's going on. They say labor is pretty good. We're at an all-time low, I believe, with labor. I think labor is still good. So that means people are working, right? So I think it's a matter of just getting more eyeballs on your projects and how to do that, right? I mean, look, I have an aversion to a platform like TikTok more because of the terms of service.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Than anything else. Not because I have a real issue with the platform itself, but the terms of service kind of creepy. Because they can just crawl through your system and take whatever they want.
They got to data mine your shit somehow.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where the real money's at.
Right. But yeah, so I find that kind of weird. But we do have to find these other platforms to try to push ourselves forward, right? Whether it be TikTok, or Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week. Although it's been there forever, people are still using it. What is it? Threads.
Yeah.
Right.
Like platforms literally come and go.
Right. Facebook is still around, thankfully. Right. So it just depends. We just have to get out there and just, bark at the moon as much as we can. Baltimore Comic-Con is coming up. I'm thinking I may have to actually produce maybe a trading card that I can hand out at the show.
Right.
QR code right
while you're there. And for those of us, for those of you who don't know, because that was part of the housekeeping I completely forgot to do. Yeah, we will be at Baltimore Comic-Con in Baltimore, Maryland, September 8th to the 10th, 2023. I will be at table H. 28. It's across from the concession stand, so I should be easy to find. Jose will be this time officially walking around at the convention. He's going to be joining us on the Saturday and Sunday. So it's like the table is technically mine. I will be at Baltimore, while Jose will be walking around, meeting everybody that we pretty much only known online anyway. So, but the base of operations is table H28 at Baltimore. Um, so yeah, so in the end, technically, I will not be by myself anymore at Comic Con. Just the usual, I'm at the table, Jose's walking around situation that we always have at conventions. So it's like normal, pretty much. So,
Yeah, I mean, I may crash at the table for a little while.
yeah, exactly. Uh, he can help me sell some of my furry porn. Sketchbooks. No, I'm not going to have my furry porn sketchbooks at that show. I don't want to like take any chances with a show that I haven't been at in years. So
That is true. It's been a while since we went to that show.
yeah, exactly. So we're gonna keep it. So we're gonna have copies of Tall Tales and the Oswald Chronicles and some of my and my more general audiences furry sketchbooks and stickers and little trading cards and whatnot along on the table. So. So that's so it's like so you ask a lot of these business questions on your Sunday show, and you talk to all these people, and I kind of wonder, is there a question that you want to answer but you just feel like it's not a question that would be well received, no matter how long everybody's been in the business or whatnot?
Well, I think one of the things that sometimes look, I'm a writer first, right? Um, Business person, publisher, all that other jazz, second, right? So writer first, and I think one of the issues that I think a lot of creators have problems with is that they don't focus enough on the actual physical work, right? Nobody's perfect, right? But we should all be looking to achieve something that is beyond us, right? So we're seeking that perfection, even though we're not perfect, and we never will be, right? But we can at least try to achieve as close as we can get to it, right? And I think what it is that not enough people study the craft enough, and it's a difficult subject because I don't want to sit there and be like, well, your stuff's just subpar,
Right.
blah blah blah, and just be like, I'm a pretentious ass, being there. I mean, I like to encourage people, but the one thing I've been telling people is, practice, practice, practice. Read your scripts over, go over them as many times as you can, and just keep editing. You know, it's I think the only way to really try to get the best work out of yourself. I mean that's it. I mean, yeah, and read. Look, there are a lot of books on writing, and when I was younger, I didn't believe in these things. I'd be like, you don't need a book to write, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm making a book. I don't need a book, right? But as you get older, you start listening to people. You're like, oh, okay, well, this person is sagacious, so let me pick up their book, and you read it, and you do learn things. And there are nuggets of wisdom within these tomes that are very useful, right? The other thing is, when I started reading some of these, or actually it was in Danny O'Neill's class, sitting there realizing, oh, he's talking about techniques that I've been utilizing in my own work without knowing someone else had already figured it out for me, right? That maybe would have been easier if I had actually listened instead of been a knucklehead, right?
Well, I mean, that's one of us, because I certainly wasn't paying attention in that class.
It was a good class. It was a good class. God rest his soul.
Oh my goodness. I mean, so yeah, so do you think that sometimes that a lot of these people that they spend a lot of these creators or publishers or whatnot, that they spend more time like worrying too much about the business side than rather like going back to the whole, it's like, oh, it's like, why is there a slowdown on Kickstarter? And in the end, depending on who you ask, like, is there really?
Right. That's true.
Because like, yeah, there are people who are doing just fine on Kickstarter, and there are people who are seeing, that they're seeing a backslide, and it's like, but that could be caused by anything. Um but the thing is, though, is that can a creator kind of like business their way? I mean, is that kind of like, I know that I've mentioned that before, that there's a lot of creators who think that they can just business their way through, and not really pay attention to what they're putting out. Is that an issue that you see a lot, or?
Well, I mean, I think that the thing that most people don't pay attention to the fact is that we're not in a regular business, right? This business is a little weird, right? We are in the what is it? The art of commerce, right? So that we are creating art and we're trying to commercialize it as best as we can. A lot of it boils down to the quality of the work. And I mean, and look, most of the work that we gravitated to, right? Think about it. If you really think about it, even the most base work on TV, in film, in books produced by large production companies, there is a base quality to all of them. You can say, oh, that movie stunk, right? But if you look at the production quality, there's a certain level of production quality there, right? Where sometimes we don't always see that in the products that we're producing, right? As independent creators, right? Like I said, we're trying to get there. We have the tools to get there, but how do we get there, right? I mean, they're focus groups. We can sit down and criticize one another and make suggestions, right? And that's the thing. Like, I don't want to tear anybody down, because that's not my purpose. My purpose is, what I want from everyone is, I want to read your absolute best book. You understand? I want more really good books. I don't want to have to go to Marvel and DC to pick up good books, right? Although they're not really producing many these days anyway. But, I want to go to my Kickstarter, indie brethren, and pick up great books. I can't even tell you how many times I've backed, I believe, over 350 campaigns. And I can't even tell you how many times I've gotten packages, gone through, oh, cool, I got a book, I start reading it, and I'm disappointed, right? The books typically look good, but I start reading them, and that's where I get disappointed. I'm like, okay, well, this person doesn't understand structure, this person doesn't, the core things they don't understand about writing.
Right.
And they're just things, I mean, these things can be learned and practiced, right? But they didn't go through that process, right? Now, that's the beautiful thing, that we can, as independent creators, we don't have to, as independent creators, we can learn on the job, right? You look at someone like Dave Simmy, you look at those first 25 issues of Service, that was him learning on the job, all right? You look at those that's roughage, that's rough. Those first 25 issues. But once he gets past a certain level, man, he is killing it, right? And he kills it at a very high level, I guess, for the next 27-year run after that. I mean, just at the highest levels, right? So we have to try to get through that. And I think people don't give themselves time to mature. Daphne, when we started, right, we were just discussing this the other day. We started when I think I met you, I was either 17 or just turning 18, right?
Yeah.
You were 15, 16 years old?
Yeah, I was in my sophomore. It was in my sophomore year at Art and Design.
Right, and we were working on a book called Revelations, which we didn't know we were working on that book. We just knew we were working on a short story.
Yeah.
Right? And you redrew that short story about how many times?
Well, I found an entire issue of Tall Tales that was completely redone. Like, I barely remembered it. Like, there was like there probably must have been like 2 years before, like, when we started and when we actually published, 2-3 years.
Right.
And we were drawing pages the entire time, but none of that work. I think like 99% of that work we were doing in that 3 years never made it to print.
Right. And I think that's that's the thing. It's too easy to go from paper to the printing press these days. You
Yeah.
understand? We had to go through it one step at a time, and at the time we had to print 3,000 books just to get anything done. So it's not like we have POD where we could print up one copy, 10 copies, or whatever.
Right.
So
so Joe has a question. Doesn't that come from not understanding the balance of production between art and writing? People are overly concerned about the quality of art where things like lettering and story are looked at.
yeah. I mean, what else can you say? Is a yes, there's definitely an imbalance there. Like I said, all of it's important, right?
I mean, because another thing that we were talking about, I think just yesterday, is like because there's discourse back online, as there always is, because these fucking kids on Twitter have nothing else better to do. That they're talking about that the artist is now disposable. You know, that it's the writer who carries the comic, and nobody really gives a shit about the artist. It could be anybody. And you had said on a previous show that a good story can kind of save meh artwork, but if the art is really really bad, you better be like Neil Gaiman or Alan Moore to save that book.
Yeah, I do feel that way. I think
bad artist can keep people from enjoying a comic book.
Yeah, if artwork is really inept, yes, definitely. Just like an incredible artist. Listen, how many times have we just bought a book because that's Arthur Adams cover?
Oh yeah, right. And the artwork is complete. I mean, and the writing is garbage.
Right. All you're doing is looking at the book. How many of those books have we purchased? We purchased. I have scans of them.
Artwork. Yeah, just for the artwork. Because the story is trash. You have one particular one that you still can't believe exists. I think it was not Terry Moore. It was Terry Dodson.
Oh right.
Yeah, it's like you have. I mean, absolutely gorgeous book.
Beautiful book.
Beautiful book. Beautiful.
I read it every time, and every time it disappoints.
How it pains him to remember. And he says that the story is absolute garbage.
Yeah. Every time I try to read, I read it, and every time I read it, I get thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah.
Thoroughly.
So great artwork. So a bad story can be carried by great artwork, but a great story cannot be saved by bad artwork.
There's certain writers that can definitely pull it off.
Yeah, like you said, it's like, okay, so you better be Neil Gaiman then.
Right. I think like in Sandman, there's some points in there where there's artwork in there that's serviceable. Right. I think there are periods in there where it's serviceable. It's not the greatest artwork in the world. It's serviceable. It's a good artwork. Then eventually you hit P. Craig Russell, where it's just like, whoa, like it's incredible looking. He worked with J.H. Williams.
Right.
That was incredible looking. Charles Vess, obviously, that was incredible looking. And then he has other artists in there that also did some great work, but there's some of it where it's just like, oh man, like dude, like, I know you guys were selling numbers. Why did you guys sell all this? But whatever. They made their decisions. They did them in fine. And there are other series like that as well. There's some writers that can really, really pull it off. But if you're gonna pull people, and again, we're talking about people in the mainstream. We're talking about Marvel and DC, right, where they have the budgets to really promote these things. Whereas independent creators, if I just see your book and I see your artwork on the book and it looks not that great, right? That's my first impression. Right. And I have to sit back and be like, oh, is that really worth my time?
Right.
Because that person doesn't know how to pick out a good artist, at least just for the cover.
Right. And the thing is, and how many, and it's like, look, and we've read books with atrocious lettering that it's look, it's like, look, you have to be Mobius for me to put up with an entire book of atrocious lettering, which we did. There was this reprint of the Incal where it's like the lettering was so tiny for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it was just like any other book we would have just put away.
Right. And it's not that the lettering was atrocious. The problem with the lettering, it was just small. It was just way
But
too...
it defeats the purpose of the lettering. If I have to turn on all the lights and make sure I have the right reading glasses on, just read that. It might as well have been garbled because I can't read it.
Yeah,
You know?
it's one of those things where I was just like, who the hell let it? And I've read other books like that too. I was just like, what are they doing this in 6 point? And it's just like, what the hell is this?
Right. Yeah. You know, so it's like, because you had mentioned the thing about production value. And it's like, I know we've had this debate before where it's like production value for me, like if you're like, it's useless for me to tell me that the CGI in the Transformers movie is excellent. Like that's like floor level expectation for me. It's like I expect the CGI to be good. So that's not how you can impress me. You know, you have to be like incredibly entertaining. The story has to be somewhat entertaining. But like to tell me that the CGI has, you know, is like, oh, excellent production, that's like you're not telling me anything because no, that's the expectation. You know, and I think that with comics, for me, it's the same thing. It's like, it's like, look, I expect good artwork in a book, in a comic book. It's half it's half the product. If I just want to read a comic, I read novels. Because it's like if you don't have that combination of artwork and writing that comes and everything else and the rest of the production, you know, if you don't have all of that coming together to make a comic book, you don't technically have a comic book. Because it's like if you know, because it's like if you're gonna say, well, the writing's really good, great, I'll read a novel. I'll go read a novel. I don't need a comic, you know, to just read. You know, it's like it has to be an all-encompassing experience. So for people, you know, to have people to have this ridiculous discourse that, you know, because it switches back and forth. You know, it's like, oh, artists are disposable, and then in a couple of months, writers are parasites. You know, it's like that's kind of like how it goes back and forth in this discussion.
Well, I mean,
You know?
we've had this conversation privately. Whereas, like, you know, for myself, I mean, it's just a pendulum swinging, right? We had the 80s, right, where we had like, especially the mid 80s, 85, 86, 87, where we had a bunch of great stories come out. We had John Byrne on Superman, who I don't think gets enough credit for that. Frank Miller, Dark Knight, Daredevil, that sort of thing. We have Alan Moore with Watchmen, right? And there were other things that also came out during that period. All good, a lot of really good stuff came out during that period. And not just 4 or 5 years later, we had the Image Crew come out, 91, 92. There's 5 or 6 years later, these guys were out there and they were producing these books. And look, they look great, but they weren't necessarily the best reads, right? They, you know, these were books who just, they just failed on that level.
Just candy, pretty much.
They look good. They look good. And I mean, we don't have to get into like whatever, you know, I mean, they did what they did. But again, the pendulum has swung, whereas people are like have gone from like, oh, the pretty book to something that they want to read, especially in. And the thing is, I think that pendulum especially swung from like the early 2000s to like 2000, 2012. And I'm talking about the major companies, right, where you had people like Warren Ellis and Ed Brubaker and a bunch of others, Jeff Lemire, Matt Kint, and all these other guys. And some of them are still working, obviously, but a lot of them just doing indie stuff. But if we're talking about the big companies, that they came into these places and they did excellent work and they were producing great books. But, you know, that I just think is that pendulum swinging, right? So eventually, like you said, it's going to go back to, you know, writers suck or whatever it is. And, you know, and that's what it's going to be. So yeah, that battle is always going to be there.
Yeah. But I think that, but I think it's safe to agree that we agree that a comic book has to be the full package.
It helps. It helps. You know, I mean, there are different ways to do it, and I tell everybody is like, look, I mean, look, art is expensive, right? So if you're a writer, art is very expensive. What I suggest is try to find someone you can work with, right? Save money. And if you could just do it one page at a time, like you could finance one page a week, whether, you know, that be between, you know, $50, $100, whatever it is, work with the artist. And like you know, I've said this before, is like in a year, you'll end up with at least 2 comics, 2 24-page comics, you know, and that's the other thing. try to focus on smaller stories. Try to focus on 24-page stories, limited series, that sort of thing. Or you can do a 24-page comic with an overarching storyline, right?
Right.
That you can just, get back to.
Let me just catch up here. Hello, Efrain. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Tyler. Yes, speaking of killing it on Kickstarter right now, Tyler has The Girl with the Mega Fists volumes 1 through 4 on Kickstarter right now. So if you missed any of the previous volumes, it is on Kickstarter. And Tyler is just killing it on there, as he does, as he does. All right. Hello, Nicholas. Hello. And okay, so here's another comment. One Piece didn't have a good art style to start with, or it was quite weird for my taste, but the story hooked me, and the art just caught up as time and episodes progresses. Yeah, that happens too. Like sometimes, look, if you look, like I said, it's like we spent 2.5 years really massaging Tall Tales for what we ended up printing, and even then it still took a couple of years more for, I guess, like the both of us to reach our stride, or at least to kind of like get our groove on the book. You kind of see that transition, especially after issue 4, if you're picking up our trades. So that's, but the thing is though, is that, yeah, it's like I can kind of, like, I can tolerate kind of like weird artwork if the story is good enough, and then I can push through that way. But sometimes if the artwork is just like way over, it's like, it's just not like, it could really so yes, that's why it has to be the entire package. I mean, because you don't know what's going to stop people from enjoying your book. Because it's like there's beautiful books that I refuse to read because I literally can't read them. I cannot stand the lettering.
I mean, growing up, one of the books that I could definitely point at that was a little jarring when I was a kid was New Mutants, right? So you went from, I think, like Bob McLeod and some of these other classic artists, right? And then Bill Sienkiewicz comes in. And Bill was, I think, in a transition from like Moon Knight. So Moon Knight, he was drawing, it was more or less just a Neil Adams clone. Right? And then he hits New Mutants, and I'm pretty sure the transition was already happening, where he was becoming Bill Sienkiewicz. Okay, the Bill Sienkiewicz we know today, right? And you can see that when he gets in there, the style just gets weirder and weirder. You're just like, what the hell is this, right?
Yeah.
And the stories are awesome, and it's just like Chris Claremont was firing on all cylinders, doing great work. And this was one of those things where it's just like, as a kid, you first see it, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, because you're 15, 16-year-old. You're like, this is not John Buscema. This is not John Byrne. This is not George Perez, right? This was something completely different.
Yeah.
It looks good. It looks funky. It's kind of ugly, right? But what is that? Why why is this like this, right? And listen, and it was a fun ride to go down, when you get to see that stuff, especially when you get to like, right, I think there was an issue where he does like a Snow White issue or something, right, where he has like fairy tales and the giant bear and all that stuff, and the stuff just looks great, and this stuff was printed on newsprint, so I mean, it looked good on that stuff. So yeah, it just takes time to develop, to really get that feel of these weird art styles. And that's the thing, is like there's a big difference between there's classically good looking, right, and then there's just other styles that, like, may put you off a little bit, and you may have to grow accustomed to it. Like, we've had the conversation where Jack Kirby, it took us a long time to really appreciate his work. Right, growing up, I didn't like his stuff.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Growing up, I didn't necessarily care for his stuff, but I grew into it. I started looking at it, and it was funky and it was weird. I was like, okay, there's something there. And then eventually we went to a show and we got to see his pencils, and that's really where I got to appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like when I think we're at Florida SuperCon, and we saw those Jack Kirby pages, and not only that, they're all the passive aggressive editor's notes. in
Yeah.
the margins, and it was just like that. That's where it's like, oh, now I get it. Now I get
Mhm.
it. Nicholas, hey Nicholas, you folks are sharing some. Well, we try.
Yeah, we're trying.
Usually we're just talking out of our asses, but
Yeah, typically.
if it helps people,
Exactly.
and then John brings up something. All comic artists develop over time, but they have to start with a professional look. And we've had this debate on and
Mhm.
off as to what constitutes a professional.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's funny is it's not
Like,
so much a thing.
yeah,
Look, here's it because yeah, I remember Daphne and I we had this conversation where
yeah,
it's just like the thing about professionalism, right? Where we have a lot of artists come in from the big leagues, right?
yeah,
Marvel and DC, and we call them professionals,
right,
allegedly, right? Now, they may be professional artists, but they're not necessarily professional publishers, okay? So that's why you have these artists that come in and they produce this work, and it takes them 3 years to fulfill a campaign,
right.
right? They,
Or it takes them 10 years.
however long it takes them,
Yeah,
however long it takes.
it's like, wait a minute. It's like, how did you not like? Yeah, like that.
Right,
Like that
because
was
they're
also
not
a source of frustration for me. That it's like,
right. They're not professional publishers. They're not professional editors. They're not professional writers. They're not professional production people. What
right,
they are is they're professional artists. They're artist professional looking.
right,
But those other things, we slap that label on people. You're a professional, pap, and you expect it to apply to everything. It
right.
doesn't. You understand? They may be a professional or proficient in one thing, in one aspect. It
Mm-hmm.
just might be the artwork,
Yeah,
right? Now they have to, and God forbid they're just a penciler.
you're
So
right,
now they have to go out and find an inker
right,
and a colorist and the letterer. And
right.
that doesn't even include the writing, which they're probably not accustomed to doing from their
Right.
outside.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it's like just because you've been working professionally, like doesn't mean that you know the first thing about managing talent.
Right. Well, managing talent or how to approach a printer,
Right.
right? How to negotiate a printing deal, how to get it shipped to your house or to your warehouse, how to
Right.
even rent the warehouse, how to package books, how to
Hmm.
get all this stuff out. All these things are different skills
Right.
that need to be developed. And like I said, when we slap that label professional on people,
Yeah.
right, it sometimes is a disservice to the word and the person because you put an expectation on that person that necessarily shouldn't be there, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, there's certain people, they're out there, they're professional artists, but
Yeah.
they're not professional publishers. They're
Yeah.
not editors. They're not. There's a lot. There are a lot of hats that are being worn,
Hmm.
and then they're used to when they're coming from the machine, right? From Marvel, DC, they do whatever their section of the job is, and they pass it on to the next person, to the editor, and the editor passes it on to the other people,
Hmm.
right? So they might be good at that section of the job, but they're not necessarily good at every section of the job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a learning curve to it, and we've seen it, and that curve can be real painful.
Right. Well, yeah, because it's like the thing that really, really got me thinking about this was that I was on a show where somebody said that his definition of professionalism is being able to fulfill a campaign. And he said the fact that I have a book done, completed, means that I succeeded at I succeeded at my campaign before it even launched because
Mhm.
it's like I met his criteria. That's like, okay, your book is done, so yeah, within a month you're getting the book. So that was professionalism for him. And I found that strange because, which was part of the frustration, is that like I always felt that fulfilling on time should be, again, kind of like using the Transformers thing, that's like floor level expectation. But it turns out that
No, you're right.
it's
I feel your expectation
yeah.
is out of line.
It is. Yeah, you see, and that's the thing that took me a while to realize because then you're saying it's like, no, you're being unreasonable thinking that most people on Kickstarter are professional.
Correct.
It's like,
Correct.
and that's where this kind of like this whole conversation is. It's like I'm expecting a level of professionalism that doesn't technically exist. So it's like I'm holding a standard to people who don't know what it is.
Right. Because the thing is
that saying I can ship a book a month after the campaign ends is really a selling point when it shouldn't be. But what I want and what actually happens are two different things.
correct. I mean, we've been at this for a minute, right? So we've been at the production end of it. We've been, to the creative end of it. And, for myself, I've worked at FedEx. So I knew what packaging and shipping was. I knew, I got into it on that level. And I also learned printing, right? I went to school for printing for a while. And then I got into the printing business for a minute. So in our own way, we got to learn a lot of these different things. I wouldn't necessarily say we mastered these things, but we've got proficient at them, right? So then that way, it kind of set us up for success for these other things. We can't expect everyone to have our back knowledge.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's the thing is like that's where, certain people, they come in, they're like, oh, I could draw a comic, or I could write a comic, and I can do this and do that. But, that's all they know. Right. And that's what we're here for. Right. We're here to help them out. And,
yeah. Because I mean,
try to guide them through some of these things.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what's funny is that, Tyler had mentioned on Twitter, where it's like it's gotten to a point where he's so frustrated at like feeling like he's saying the same thing over and over and over again, and nobody's listening to him. And he goes, you know what? Fuck it. Why should I share my information? Why shouldn't I keep all my information to myself? And the funny thing is like, yeah, it sometimes is very frustrating to like, I mean, we've been doing these shows for what, like 2 years now, where we're giving out all this information and our personal thoughts and like learning and also learning as we go along. And it's like, and we keep seeing people doing the same mistakes over and over and over again. It's like, we had a discussion about this, but I mean, what makes you what makes you not go, fuck it, I'm not talking about this anymore, nobody listens anyway?
Well, the thing is, it's the discussion, right? Because the thing is I'm still learning. Right. I look, I could get a person on the show, they've been in the business 2 months, and they could tell me something that I didn't know, that just totally blows my mind. It's something new, something that I can utilize, right? So it's the sharing of information, right? And sometimes it does require you getting in a new person to see something from a different perspective. And you have to be willing to be open to it, right? Because it's very easy to get set in your ways. Right. So it's very easy. So you have to be able to sit back, and no matter how much your teeth grates at it, right? You sit in there going, this son of a mother flower, I could kick him in the teeth, right? But you have to sit back and really try to analyze, okay, so why am I angry, right? What affected me like that, and how does that apply to me, right? And then how can I get over that, and how can I utilize that to my advantage, right? So that's how I try to look at it. I'm not always successful, I'm trying, that's all I can ever ask of anybody, just try, because there are a number of cases where it's obvious where people are not. You're not trying.
That's true.
And sometimes that's unfair, because maybe they are trying. And here's the other thing is, I've mentioned this in other places where, some people have caps, right? Like, you're only going to get so good. I've said it, I've said it myself, is am I ever going to be as good as Neil Gaiman or Alan Moore? Probably not. But I'm going to die trying. Right. And that's the thing is, the only person I can ever be better than is myself. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So today I'm going to try to be a better writer than I was yesterday. Tomorrow I'm going to try to be a better writer than I am today. And that's it. And you just keep trying to push forward and just produce the best quality books you can produce. And here's the thing. If you can sit back and question, really question, man, is this the best book I can put out? Look, none of us are probably putting out the best book.
True. That's true.
Because
our aspirations are just out of the reach of our skill. Exactly.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it gives us something to strive for. right? It always gives us something to strive for. So we're always trying to move forward like that. But I feel that not enough people think that way.
Right.
Not enough people are like actually trying to strive forward. They're like, they get to a certain spot and they're just living there.
Right. Hold on. Let's just to catch up a little bit here. So John says the creator needs to know all the aspects of getting his or her work to the public. That's what I mean about being professional. And he goes, I've got two heads to wear my hats on. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Then Joe goes, well said, there's a continual process as you put on different hats during the project. This is why being a one-man army has a lot of responsibility to learn. And then he goes, expectations. I like this one. Expectations can lead people astray when it comes to production, especially through crowdfunding. Crowdfunded project does not equal professional. And it's like, yeah, that's
110% correct.
Yeah, that's the thing I had to fight. I mean, it's funny. It's like I'm willing to expect more people to not listen to advice. Like I like helping people. That's why, it's like I enjoy talking about my process and hoping that it helps people. But I also understand that you could tell the same thing to 100 people and you'll be lucky if like 2 of them listen to it. And then out of that 2, maybe 1 of them will actually implement it. Like I'm willing to accept that. But yeah, the crowdfunding as professional thing, I had to get over that. Like now it's kind of like, I mean, to be, I guess, it's like, always keep your expectations low. That way you're never disappointed.
Right.
It's like, that's kind of like in the end, now it's like, that's kind of how I look at crowdfunding now after we had this conversation, or like just the whole idea of professional to begin with. That it's like, again, it's just because someone's professional on one end doesn't mean they're professional on where you think they should be.
Right.
And yeah, and it's like, yeah, so so that's the thing though. It's like if you're looking for professionalism in terms of crowdfunding, yeah, both our books are done.
Yes. The books are done.
The Oswald Chronicles, the books are completed for this. So once the campaign is over, you will get your books about like 4 weeks, barring any delay at the printers, about 4 weeks after the campaign ends. So the books are ready, the books are done. Like I forgot who told me this. So it's like, if your idea of professionalism and succeeding is that we're able to fulfill because our books are done, then here you go. We've met that criteria. So so thank you to the 8 backers who have backed the campaign for the Oswald Chronicles, a successfully launched campaign for the Oswald Chronicles. I was there, and I remember issues 1 through 4, which also includes the first 2 issues of The Light That Attracts, which was the campaign we were supposed to launch last week, but it glitched out on us. So Jose combined it with this campaign, so now you're definitely not missing anything. So the links are in the show notes below. I was there, and I remember for the Oswald Chronicles. Thank you again to everybody who pledged so far. And also, EGORAVEN, Heir the First Unicorn, issue 7 is on Kickstarter live right now, as you can see right here. Thank you so much to the 116 people who have backed so far. We have 13 days to go. For Oswald, we have 20 days to go. So not a lot of time. There's still time, but not a lot of time. So why wait? Make sure you pledge to both our campaigns. Because why not, right? Because within 4 weeks of the campaign's ending, you will be getting our books. So I was just very happy to finally send out the last book for our Tall Tales campaign for our So I Thought. The very last package went out for that. So that campaign is completely closed now, is officially closed. Thank you so much for everybody who also supported that campaign. So just to show you, it's like, okay, you know what? If this is your definition of professionalism, this is what we're offering. you know. So so there we have it. I think another successful hour, as Jake would put it, another successful rotation for the Ragin to the Vlogs show. Again, Nita was unable to join us today because she's at the dentist getting an abscess tooth taken care of. Let's all wish her a speedy recovery from that, because who needs to worry about that sort of garbage before you go on vacation? So that's for sure. Thank you, everybody who joined us in the chat. Thank you so much for keeping us company. Yes, and thank you so much to my beautiful eyeball people who have watched the entire hour, keeping us company from regions beyond as well. Thank you so much for that. So, Jose, because we actually forgot to do formal introductions for you, why don't you do a formal outro and tell everybody where they can find you?
All the usual spots, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt, all under JD Calderon, or you can just find me on theoswaldchronicles.com or talltalesonline.com, or even more importantly, on Kickstarter for the Oswald Chronicles, currently funding. Go check it out. The greatest mouse adventure going today.
All links are in the show notes below. And if you want to learn more about me and my artwork and all my other campaigns, now and in the future, you're going to head on over to my portfolio site at egoworks.com, where you can find links to all of my galleries and social media sites, but I mostly post to Facebook if you are interested in seeing sketches and current work in progress, and the live updates as I'm going along. And remember that you can find me also on YouTube at my channel, Daphne Lage Art, where I do a semi-weekly art live stream Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. It's semi-weekly. Usually it's every other Wednesday. Because things happen. It's like, I try to do this every Wednesday, but not every other Wednesday. About every other Wednesday, I do a live stream. You can also read EGORAVEN, Heir the First Unicorn, for free, uploading every day, Monday through Friday, if you want to check it out and kind of get a sense of everything before you support the campaign. And also on the website, you can download a free 16-page sampler of the first issue of EGORAVEN, Heir of the First Unicorn, so you can read it. You can read that sampler again before you support the campaign. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a furry Lord of the Rings adventure, you can follow the link over to Tall Tales. That's TAILSonline.com. And not only can you read the first 20 issues of Tall Tales for free, there's a lot of reading on that website. You can catch up on the latest story arc, Tears of the Mother, which is also currently uploading Monday through Friday. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me and Jose on this special edition of the Ragin to the Vlogs show. Again, all the links to all the campaigns are in the show notes and in the chat. Nita was able to put everything in the chat before she had to go to the dentist. So everything is there for your clicking pleasure and pledging pleasure. So thank you so much for joining us. And in the words of the ancients, eat your food, moisturize, mind your business, and do the work. Because when you actually do the work, you never have to fake any of your accomplishments. Thank you so much. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the wrong outro. Hold on. Where's my outro? Where's my outro? You know what? Is that the outro? This is the outro.